Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah. Today, we're diving into something that's absolutely critical for anyone who wants to build software: test management.
That's right. We're going to lay out a simple guide to understand how quality software actually gets made. And we're going to start with the question that, honestly, almost everyone asks.
Okay, Alex, let's just get right to it. I think this is on every student's mind. I mean, if you're a good developer, shouldn't you be able to test your own work? Why can't developers just test their own code?
That is a fantastic question, Sarah. And it's the perfect place to start, because the answer really gets to the core of why this is its own special field. It all boils down to one key idea: independent testing.
You know, what's so fascinating is that the answer isn't about skill. It's just about being human. The source material says developers can be blind to their own mistakes. Think about it. When you build something, you make certain assumptions. You can't help it. Independent testers, on the other hand, come in with fresh eyes, with a totally objective perspective, and their job is to poke holes in all those assumptions.
So it's really all about just getting a fresh pair of eyes on the problem.
Exactly. And the benefits are huge because independent testers are objective. They can look at everything and ask questions like, but is this really what we wanted to build? Or what happens if a user does something totally unexpected? They are just perfectly set up to find those little issues that the person who created it, who's so close to it, would probably just walk right past.
Okay, that totally makes sense. You need that separate group to keep things objective. So, who are these people? Who actually makes up one of these independent test teams?
Yeah, great question. The team structure is actually pretty clear. At the very top, you've got the test manager. You can think of this person as the coach, or maybe the architect of the whole operation. They're not just managing people. They are taking full responsibility for the entire test process, from dreaming up the big strategy to leading the team that actually gets it done.
And then you've got the testers. These are the specialists, the people on the front lines, really. They're the ones digging into the plans, setting up all the test data, running the tests, and, this is super important, writing up detailed reports when they find something that's not working right. They're really the engine that drives the whole quality process forward.
Right, so we have a manager and we have testers. But I'm thinking, software projects can be massive and incredibly complex. How does this team even know where to begin? How do they figure out what to test and how to do it?
Well, they don't just wing it. It all starts with a very detailed plan. The test manager's #1 job is to create a formal strategy so that absolutely nothing is left to chance. First, they'll figure out exactly what needs to be tested. Then, they define what success even looks like. Those are the objectives. After that, they choose the right methods, decide how they're going to measure everything, and finally, they map out the cost and the effort. It's a full-blown roadmap.
And a really crucial part of that strategy is deciding when to start. The best way to do it is what's called a preventative approach, where testers are in the room from day one. This helps stop bugs from even being created. The other way is reactive, waiting until the code is built and then going on a bug hunt. That way is always more stressful and way, way more expensive. I mean, fixing a bug early can be 100 times cheaper than fixing it after the product is out in the wild.
Wow, okay. A preventative strategy definitely sounds a lot smarter. So, once that big plan is in place, what does the day-to-day work actually look like? How does that strategy turn into action?
So, this is where it all becomes a continuous loop. It's known as the test management cycle. Now, the main thing to understand here is that test management isn't some task you just check off a list. It's a living, breathing process that repeats itself over and over. And it basically has 4 key phases.
So it all kicks off with phase 1. This is where the team either creates the big picture strategy for the first time, or, more likely, they adjust the existing one based on new information or changes in the project.
From there, they roll right into phase 2, which is all about planning the specific tests for the next chunk of work. This is where that high-level strategy gets broken down into actual, concrete to-do items.
Phase 3 is where the rubber meets the road. This is the action phase. The team starts running all those tests they just planned, and the manager is keeping a close eye on everything to make sure it's all going smoothly.
And finally, you hit phase 4. They gather up all the data, they figure out what it all means, and they report those findings back to everyone who needs to know. And the coolest part is, all that new information feeds right back into phase 1, and the whole cycle just starts all over again.
That cycle makes a ton of sense. But let's talk about what feels like the most exciting part of phase 4. The results. What happens when a test actually fails, when they find a bug or, as the source material calls it, a defect.
This is where a great tester really proves their worth, because not every failed test means the same thing. You've got to evaluate the result. The best case scenario is a true positive. Yep, that's a real bug. But you might get a false positive where the test is broken, not the software. The most dangerous one, though, the one that keeps people up at night, is the false negative. That's when a test passes, but there's a serious bug hiding in there. A good tester knows how to spot the difference.
So once a defect is confirmed to be real, it gets logged and it starts on this little journey. A pretty standard path would be for it to start as new. From there, the team might analyze it, send it over to a developer to be fixed, test that fix, and then hopefully move its status to closed. Every single one of these steps is tracked. It's not just about fixing the bug, it's about managing that whole process in a really clean and efficient way.
Okay, it's all clicking for me now. So it's not just one thing. You have this independent team with clear roles, they build a strategy, they run it through a continuous cycle, and they have a clear workflow for any problems they find. It's a whole system.
It is a whole system, and that whole system is designed for one primary goal: managing risk. I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it just nails it. Testing isn't just some technical thing you do, it's a fundamental business strategy for getting rid of uncertainty and protecting the project.
So the really important takeaway here isn't about how many bugs you find.
Exactly. Finding bugs is almost a byproduct. The real goal, the grand prize, is to build confidence. Confidence for the business that the product is going to work, confidence for the project manager that they can actually hit their deadlines, and most importantly, confidence for the users that they can depend on the software to do what it's supposed to do.
And that really brings us to our final thought for you. Now that you've seen how testing works to lower risk, we want to turn the question over to you. Based on everything we've talked about, what do you think is the single biggest risk to a software project's success, and how can a good test strategy help fight against it? Thanks for joining us.